What's the one on the horse where you're holding the big long spear?
Well, it's the lance is the spear.
The joust?
Yeah,
jousting.
I don't think they joust in the Olympics, Greg.
They should.
That'd be pretty.
You're thinking of medieval times. You always get those confused.
Oh yeah, I do. Well, I'm drunk at both of them.
History Defeats Itself is a comedy podcast. Kevin, John, and Greg are not experts, historians, or even all that smart.
Hello, and welcome to History Defeats Itself. My name is Kevin Rosenquist. We are a comedy podcast that wonders why us as people never seem to learn from our history. I am joined, as always, by two men who are never going to give you up or let you down, John Banks and Greg Mitchell. How you guys doing?
I'm
never going to run around.
I'm curious.
And desert you.
Yeah. I'm curious why you look so surprised when you're the one who decides when we start.
I don't know.
I'm excited about Kevin's lighting today. You notice his skin tone is not too pasty bright?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got the spray tan just perfectly mixed. Good work.
It's amber.
I spray tanned once. I looked good.
Did you get your penis and balls?
No.
No,
definitely looked weird naked. Definitely looked weird naked. Looked like I was still wearing underwear. Whitey tighties.
Nice.
As if you don't look weird naked anyway.
Yeah, not too sure. I am a man. Most of us don't look great naked.
Nope.
Yeah, we don't.
Outside of, the Goslings and Pitts of the world.
But we don't know if they look good naked. We don't know.
I'll bet Gosling looks phenomenal.
They may have funny looking penises.
They could.
Yeah.
Did you hear that Pitt quit drinking?
Brad
Brad Pitt quit drinking?
Yeah.
No, I'm not happy about that.
Yeah. That's
He's a
disappointing.
quitter.
So did Tom Holland.
Who?
Oh.
Spider-Man.
You know who helped Brad Pitt quit drinking?
Tom Cruise.
Bradley Cooper.
Oh.
Jesus, another heartthrob.
You know who helped Bradley Cooper? Woody Harrelson.
Do you know who helped Woody Harrelson?
That's made up, right?
No. Maybe.
Do you know who helped Woody Harrelson?
Maybe it was
being on the show.
Woody Harrelson introduced them to lots of drugs.
Being on the show Cheers. That helped Woody Harrelson quit drinking.
It did. I think it was Woody Harrelson who actually helped Bradley Cooper.
I don't care.
I don't either.
I don't like the fact that they're in a tight circle. I'm not in it. If I was in that circle, I'd be like really interested.
Would you quit drinking too, or no?
No, fuck that.
Did I say that Courtney and I saw John Hamm at the airport? Like literally, like he was 2 feet away from me, and like he bent over into my his ticket. He left his ticket in the bin, and I was like, "Hey, John Hamm, you left your ticket." I didn't say.
What did he say?
He did. I said your ticket, and he turned around and grabbed it. He's like, "Thanks," and I just wanted to be like, "You're so handsome, John Hamm."
Can I gaze into your eyes longingly for the next 5 seconds?
I don't care where you're going. I want to go with you.
And he's like, "Hey, John Banks, I'm 10 feet away from you, and your beard is still touching me."
Like, I love your podcast.
John Banks from the podcast History Defeats Itself.
Yeah. He's like, "Wow, can I get your autograph?"
And you're like, no.
Yeah.
No.
We don't do
instead
those.
of autographs, I just pluck a beard hair and I form it into a John Banks signature, and I just give it to you.
A lot of people they actually each grow as a John Banks signature, so I don't have to form it. I just pluck it.
Oh, thank God! That gets time consuming.
Yeah, that would take a while.
It only forms itself when you snip it.
Yeah. As soon as it falls off, it goes John Banks.
Cursive.
Yeah, cursive. Well, it's a signature, you dumb fuck. Jesus.
You don't get to pick your font though.
Hey, was Ham flying coach or what?
Playing coach?
Yeah.
Flying coach.
Oh, flying coach. He wasn't on my flight, and I assume not. He had a paper ticket though, so I think it was like a last minute decision to go to the airport and fly somewhere.
God.
Or he's a paper ticket kind of guy.
I don't think he is. He seems like he'd have an assistant kind of guy.
Some people don't trust technology.
Yeah, that's true.
John Hamm, we're painting you in that corner, buddy.
Yep. John Hamm. Not convinced that the email ticket thing works.
Well, I mean,
John Hamm,
that shit out.
You're fucking handsome as fuck.
I mean, he ran that, or he's part of that ad agency in the 60s. So, I mean, John Hamm's got to be 120. So,
yeah, he's not great with technology, but he looks fantastic for his age.
He's a vampire. That's why.
Follow us on social media. I haven't posted on there in a while, but you should still follow us on social media, TikTok, Instagram.
Actually, everybody needs to get off social media. It's not good for anybody.
Yeah. It's not
Get
good
off
for you.
social media, but listen to us on
Listen to
social media.
podcasts, but stay off the social media because
Well,
you know
we're
what?
not-
I don't
we're
want to
not-
do the social media stuff anyway. So give me a reason not to, but still listen.
And send us money.
Yeah, that would be great. We got to start a Patreon. We'll
Right.
You
probably
can
make like
even-
$6 a year.
If you want to, you can even pay us not to do this. We're looking at that too.
Yeah.
I would be down for that. Yeah, I would definitely be down for that.
Also,
We're
All right,
kind of
well,
like,
we'll
we're
cut
kind of
your
like
grass.
farmers with subsidies.
Until that happens, it's my turn to lead tonight.
Boring.
So let's get started. My inspirations for today's topic are
This is Greg Mitchell. Thank you very much,
are the
ladies
two
and
men
gentlemen.
staring back at me on my computer screen right now.
Fuck, I was
John
half
and
right.
Greg. You see, last episode, I was ridiculed, teased, yelled at, beaten, and subjected to snarky texts and general dickishness by my co-hosts. Why, you ask? Because I had a viewpoint that was too philosophical and deep for them to understand. Advanced reason is not something that they excel in. In case you missed it, or need a refresher,
We're
in case
stupid. Yes.
Here's
Everybody
what
knows
we're
what
doing. Last episode, Greg felt inspired by the episode that John had done previously. It was more thought-provoking than he thought John capable of. Greg
God,
talked about...
now you're making it sound like I'm insulting John. John, I didn't mean it that
There's
way.
a very
Fuck
bitter
Kevin.
tone in Kevin's voice. You can tell
You
he's
so insulted John for like 15 straight minutes last episode.
Yeah, the difference is I insulted John. That's
Okay,
my
okay.
fucking job, and you're fucking stepping all over me right now.
Yeah, it's true.
Greg talked about the difficulties one has with changing one's opinion. He discussed neuroscience and how our brains are sort of wired to have certain opinions.
Is this whole episode just gonna be a fucking summary of what we did in
There's
the
a
past?
physical component involved. All
This is
right,
like
fine. You know what?
Cliff
You want?
Notes?
I do have a clip to summarize. Here's my clip.
I'm super stupid.
All right, so that was the synopsis of Greg's discussion from last episode. 2 episodes ago, John led the
I want to
podcast.
stop that. I just want to stop there. That's the best. That is the
This
best.
is cruel,
ending
man.
ever.
This is like a deep fake, everybody.
2 episodes ago, John led the podcast that inspired Greg. We had a discussion on the exact title of our show, History Defeats Itself. He enlightened us on the cyclical nature of major events in the world's history. He cited Peter Turchin, the founder of Cleodynamics, a discipline of historical macrosociology that seeks to identify patterns and cycles in history through the application of mathematical models. Here's a clip from that episode.
But I am this stupid.
So during Greg's
This episode, I think this episode should be called Inception.
so
It's kind of like an episode within an episode within an
Kevin-
episode, and we're stupid.
Kevin's a meanie.
He's a fucking asshole, and he knows how to record our. He knows how to like play back our.
Well, he took time.
I hope I know how to record our conversations because
Yeah, he did take time to do that. Ignore everything Kevin says, ladies and gentlemen. John,
During
let's
Greg's
you and I have a
episode,
conversation.
during Greg's episode, I opined that one could argue that Greg
You
and
what?
John's
You
episodes
opined?
were
Did you opine?
were opposite viewpoints. John's was based on societal patterns out of our control, and Greg's was more about our individual brains and offered more of a chance for
This whole
change.
episode is him proving
Predestination
himself right.
versus free will. Because I had the audacity to bestow high-level logic on these two, they of course resorted to name-calling, the only defense they really know.
Yeah, you're
So-
a fucking idiot.
So I scrapped my original idea for this episode and decided to do part 3 of this theme. Before I reveal the topic, do you guys have anything to add? I feel like I summarized that pretty well.
Yeah, is it about your stupid fucking tattoo?
Wait, hold on. No, I have a question. Or it's not a question. No, it is something to add, though. So you gave up time with your child to find us saying those things so you could play it back on this episode. You gave up time with your family
When
to be a
we're
snarky
way
asshole.
more than happy to tell you we're stupid
I
without actually.
Where's the
having-
dramatic effect in that?
we read your scripts. You tell us what to say. We say it.
No, it wasn't that hard. But anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about free will.
I love this
Free
topic.
Willy, that was a good movie. Remember that whale? So what happened was he was
Jumps
in,
over a kid. That's all I remember.
he was in captivity, right? Wouldn't that have been funny? You know, they say like whales have huge cocks. Wouldn't it be funny if he like jumped over the kid and his
Smacked-
whale dick fucking knocked
him in
that
the
kid
head.
right out? Yeah.
Concussed him.
Or he just drowned. That's how Free Willy ends. Willy gets free, and the kid dies by Willy's Willy. So
And that kid's name was Willie.
there's no Free Willy
It's a very
2.
confusing movie.
It was.
So, do we as individuals and societies truly choose our own destinies, or are we mere actors playing out the script of history? So, I want to start with what John talked about in his episode, real briefly. Civilization cycles. The rise and some examples would be the rise and fall of empires, the Roman, the Byzantine, Ottoman, and British, noticing similarities in their expansion, peak, decline, and fall. Some other examples, economic boom and bust cycles like the Great Depression of the 1930s, the dot-com bubble of the late 1990s, and the 2008 financial crisis, all followed times of economic prosperity.
Don't forget about August of 2023, because right now is not exactly a boom time.
It's not. But we did have a pandemic a few years ago.
Yeah, but the economy kicked ass in the pandemic. Now we're eating a big fat fucking shit sandwich.
Yeah. But it's one of those sandwiches that shits on the outside and the inside, right?
Yeah,
there's no bread.
There's no bread. It's all shit.
Yeah, it's all shit.
It's really just a pile of shit.
It's exactly like what happens when you go to Wendy's.
It's Wendy's, not a sponsor, but
not going to be a sponsor. Or this is a good time to announce our sponsor, Wendy's, for all your frosty needs.
You know what? I'll take a shit junior with an order of fries, and I'll take a bacon.
Sir,
shit.
You do know the fries are shit, just shit too. Just we deep fry it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Don't tell me what a fucking fry is. Just get it to me, you stupid shit.
Wendy's,
earn your $12 an hour.
Fry that
Wendy's,
cat.
We make your burgers square because we don't cut corners.
Oh, that's good. Oh, you should probably email them.
After the saying what I just said about them, I don't think they're gonna fucking open that email.
Don't worry, this isn't live. I could cut that out. I probably won't though.
Hey, get that out.
So, recurring conflicts, the consistent emergence of civil wars or revolts during times of economic disparity or resource scarcity. So essentially, these patterns could show us how to predict significant world events based on specific signs that were present for the past events. Do I have that pretty right, John?
Yeah.
So now let's move on to Greg's episode.
Like, what am I going to say?
The scientific perspective, neurological studies have shown.
I didn't know we could just do an episode where we just talk about a previous episode. It's pretty cool.
Yes, you do. You talk about yourself every episode.
Yeah, but usually new aspects about myself or different aspects.
So my next episode is just going to be me playing recordings of different sentences we said in all the previous episodes.
John, if I thought you could put that together, I would say go for it.
That is actually
Touché.
That is actually an accurate jab.
I
That he just took at you.
cannot do that.
I can't do it either. I
So
don't want to be able to do that. Nerd.
Greg did the scientific perspective, neurological studies indicating that decisions might be made in the brain.
be honest,
conscious
I didn't do it.
awareness.
Okay.
Another one I don't recall if we discussed would be genetics and behavior. How much do our genes dictate our actions and decisions?
I wish you to know how much
Anything-
do our Jordache genes dictate?
Oh, that's what
Right.
it was. It was Jordache genes. I do remember that now. Anything to add, Greg? Or did you cover everything last episode?
You know, this sounds like super condescending.
No, it sounds like a setup.
just-
It's a trap.
It's not a trap. I swear it's not a trap. I honestly was just trying to blow through that stuff. So, all right,
No,
let's move
what
on.
I did is I left that episode in the past, like you should have.
Clearly, I could not.
Yeah. No. You're defending, like, we apparently gave you way more shit than we usually do, and you wrote this whole episode to somehow vindicate yourself when
Oh, no.
I don't care how much information you share with us. John and I will never be on Team Kevin again.
That's fine. You never were. So, first of all, but let's just move on because you're already annoying me.
Hold on. I'm a flip-flopper, so not that I've never been on Team Kevin. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It just really depends on
That's true. You are kind of a flip-flopper.
Yeah, I'm totally
Greg's consistently anti-Kevin, and
Right.
in fairness, I'm consistently anti-Greg. We're like the Republicans versus the Democrats.
It's very sad.
He's clearly the Republican.
Clearly.
How? Fuck you.
Well, you do make more money than me.
That just means I donate more than you.
Mm,
Pussy.
I'm in the
All right,
center.
so we're going to talk about free
Hey,
will
Kevin.
now. And
Kevin.
Okay, we're not going to talk about free will. Hang on, let's let Greg say whatever incredibly poignant thing he has to say.
I really like the way your facial hair looks today.
Oh, it does look sexy.
You look really good.
It's
All
the
right, well,
second.
that was actually pretty good. I'm glad we
Yeah,
stopped
I'm
for that.
distracted by your good looks today.
See, this is what he does, though. He gives you a compliment about your looks, and then he insults your intelligence.
It's
Yeah.
pretty
He's an
abusive
abuser.
pattern.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does have an abusive pattern. There's no doubt
But
about
I
it. All right,
sincerely mean both parts.
shut the fuck up and let me move on. Let's get
Okay.
into the episode. We haven't gotten any episode yet.
Oh, all we've done is rehash our fucking
I
hard work.
know.
You're
That's
riding
what
on the shoulders of John
I've
and
got a
Greg.
whole arc here, you dick.
Sorry. Kevin from Outside the Paint.
Okay. That's a basketball reference, John. So,
Oh, yeah.
3-pointer.
all right. So, I may not be the smartest person in the world,
Duh.
but I love philosophy. So, we're going to start with the philosophical perspective of free will.
Idiots usually do.
The concept of fate versus free will was prevalent in Greek tragedies where characters seemingly cannot escape their destinies. In Oedipus Rex, the idea of fate versus free will is a big deal. Oedipus, the main character, tries to avoid a terrible prophecy that says he'll kill his dad and marry his mom. No matter what he does to avoid it, he ends up doing it anyway.
She was
It's-
super hot, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame him. She was really hot.
No, I'd hit that.
It's like
He's the Raquel Welch of
even
her day.
if she was your mom.
No. My mom's a Jewish old lady. No, I don't want that.
That's what's stopping you,
Yes.
not the
You have no
incestual
idea.
part.
You have no idea the
I
psychological
mean,
damage
she
that
was
woman's
40 and
done.
hot. Sure.
If she were 40 and hot, that would not work out very well mathematically, John.
No, but I'm just saying that's,
Let's just say that for some reason there's a category on, I think it's called Pornhub,
I think.
that deals in this.
I heard
topic
Is it usually
directly.
stepmoms though?
Yeah.
That's the
I
whole
don't know
family.
why.
It's like a whole
There's
family.
something weird about that.
Stepbrother, stepsister, brother, sister, aunts, uncles, Teddy the midget. Like it's just.
Whoa.
I don't think I'm allowed to say that.
Nope, you can't.
I'm
Don't think
sorry.
you should.
I
got
apologize for
canceled.
using the word Teddy.
I'm canceling John right now. I'm holding an X right in front of John's face.
All right, so the Oedipus Rex story raises the philosophical question: do we really have control over our lives, or is it all pre-written like a cosmic script? So before we continue, as far as the philosophical side of free will, I would love to get your initial opinions before we talk further about it.
John, you go first. 'Cause I have a lot to say about this.
So I do believe. Well, man, it's a real mindfuck how I approach this because I would say yes.
It's a mindfuck of a topic,
Yeah,
quite honestly.
but I would say
so-
yes and no, right? So I don't think there's some cosmic event where everything came together and I was born, right? Like it would just happen to be the timing.
you just insulted your mom and dad having sex.
I think it was a special event when you were born.
Yeah.
I don't think it was cosmic sex. I'm sure it was okay. Like I
It
don't
wasn't
feel
Earth shattering.
I don't feel like the night of us conceived was like the best sex of their life. I don't
Listen,
know that, but
Greg and I have both had kids. When you're trying to have a baby, it's not super sexy.
yeah, right. It's just
It's a business transaction.
exactly.
Whoa. I don't know how you had sex.
Well, Sheena always left $20 on the table.
Jen and I were both drunk.
That was every time we get.
That wasn't very transaction-y.
So I don't feel like
And John's mom and I were both drunk.
well, that's the only way she would have sex with you. So, so I don't think that we're like, yeah, I don't think it's like cosmic, or it wasn't like this master plan of the universe that I was born. But now that I am born, I don't think that I have free will. I have the ability to choose, but all those choices are coming from who I am as a person and everything that happened before. So I don't think that I am able to make I can only make one choice, and that choice is already laid out, whether I realize it or not. And I feel like I'm making a choice, but I'm not.
Sort of like a personal predestination because of who you are as a person.
Well, everybody, like in other words,
Yeah, we're using you as an
right,
example,
Like you're
but-
going to make the choices you're going to make, Kevin, because you're Kevin and you've had all the experiences you've had. I haven't had the same experiences, so I may make different choices, but those choices I'm making are not my free will, even though
What if, John, the future has already happened, but you just don't remember it? And there is no such thing as this construct of time, and everything is all at once. So free will and predestination, fate, or whatever you want to call it, is meaningless anyway.
Well, I mean, if you want to go that big, everything's meaningless.
I did. I went that big.
Because we're all gonna eventually. This whole thing's gonna end, right? So, but not me,
See,
but
it
all of
isn't
us,
so.
right? Like the universe is going to expand into a point where everything is so cold and spread out that nothing can live. So,
God, you always got to take it to the fucking.
well, I'm saying if we're gonna go that big, like,
Well, I mean, technology's just got to keep up. That's all.
How do you know that the end of the world isn't just like a bunch of all the cotton candy you can eat?
I don't know. That'd be awesome. That would
Fuck
be
yeah, it would.
so. I
I
mean,
do like cotton candy. I haven't had it in a long time. That is delicious.
It is.
Good call, Greg.
I like the way it tickles your mouth a little bit on the way in.
It does kind of tickle, yeah.
cotton
And it
candy
sort of
and
gets
and
all-
hand job booths. That's the end of that's the universe.
Hopefully, it's not by the same person that's like handing you cotton candy and giving you a hand
no, it
job.
is.
It's the same guy who's got his hand in that machine.
Yeah.
His hair is all up in the air, like because he's been mixing it too long. And
Here's
like,
the thing: every cotton candy comes with just a little bit of jizz. There's nothing because it's like
That is the secret ingredient. Do you know that?
you can't do anything about it. It's
does
like
melt
not
in your
heaven,
mouth.
not hell. It's kind of like Earth.
Greg?
I just told you. No, I didn't.
I was going to say that was it.
But it could be that time is not linear and everything's already happened and we just don't know it yet. But
But then
I
that would
think
support
as far
having no
as-
free will.
so assuming that we are not in a matrix, which every fucking minute that passes, it feels more and more like we could be. And it feels like every kind of science fiction-y fact that we ever learned is kind of coming true. With aliens and with fucking AI and the Jetsons, all the technology they had on the Jetsons is coming true. So it just seems like
We
we're
have a
just heading down
Roomba.
that path anyway. Yeah,
Basically,
that's a
basically
robot.
what was her name? What was her dot?
I can't remember the cleaning the maid the robot
The robot maid.
Was it Flo?
It wasn't Flo.
That's Alice's
no, it wasn't
Diner.
Flo. Yeah, close.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway,
Either way, I think that there is free will, but it's confined. I think this is what John was saying too. It depends where you are in your time and space in life, and your options are kind of hinged upon that. So if we were born into slavery in the 1000s, our free will would only exist within our own minds. And that would require a shit ton of optimistic thinking as well to kind of do that. Now I think we feel like we have more free will, but we do have only I think a narrow amount of choices. And who knows if you zigged when you should have zagged, if that would have led you to here or not. I kind of think so. We've made choices about our fiancés or spouses, and it got us to where we are now. And it's the butterfly effect. It just keeps.
Yeah, so it's that movie Sliding Doors, right? Was that about that?
Yeah, it's like choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like things can happen. So I think you do have options, but they're pretty limited. And the fact that we're three white dudes in 2023, we probably have the most options available at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it depends on what
Three
you're
straight
talking
white
about.
dudes.
Right, but I think it depends on what you're talking about, right? Because I feel like with cancel culture, and I know that's like, what does that mean, and what does woke mean, and all these things, right? But like with that, people self-censor, right? And so you choose, and I don't mean like saying some overtly racist thing, right? Like that, like people who want to do that, they use their free will to do that. But I mean, like I don't know, like I don't want to give an example because I don't want to get canceled, right? But like something that in our day would have been no big deal, you can't say anymore. And I'm not somebody who's like, oh, it's so unfair, right? Oh, I know, like so that like he, she, they, them, all the pronouns, right? So like if I mess up and I say the wrong pronoun to someone because this person identifies as female, but they're male, right? Then they get mad at me, and so then my free will, my brain is going to say like I'm registering them as male. Right. But I know I self-censor. So I change what I'm going to say based on the social response I'm going to get.
Sure.
Right.
But
so
just the thought that you can change what you're going to say is free will.
Yeah.
And you still could have chosen to not be sensitive to what people want to be called. So that still is free will.
Yeah, well, but it's I think it's free will with like a heavy hand. Like in other words, it's like
It depends how much confrontation you want in your life.
right. Or not just confrontation. I mean, it's like I definitely don't want to hurt someone's feelings or anything like that. So it's like there's all. So I guess there's all these things that are constantly coming into play about choices we make that are external as well as internal.
But what you're saying is your choices, the consequences of your choices have changed within the last, 15 years, 20 years. But that doesn't necessarily impact your ability to still choose that path. It might not be popular and it might lead you to a different place, but free will and fate and a destination, I think, is a little bit different than that. It's kind of the same, but it's a little different.
Well, you're still engaging like free will, like quote unquote free will, but you're not. It's like, yes, you're making the choice to say whatever you're going to say, but you're making that based on, so we're constantly making choices. Our free will is constantly
about consequences.
Yeah. Or not just, but yeah, consequences or the rewards or whatever, right? Like it's, there's this whole system in social society where we're rewarded or punished. And of course, we'd rather be rewarded than punished. So it's like we will make choices for the reward.
You haven't seen all the same videos that I have, buddy.
Well, but that's a reward, right? Like that is a reward. Like so if somebody is like, let's say somebody is very anti-woke, right? And they go out and they like push down a protester. Well, that's a dick move. And then, so half the people in the world are gonna be like, that's a dick move. And the other half are going to celebrate them. Right. So they get a reward, so that's
just not from everyone.
Right.
I agree. Yeah. And the free will part it's still free will.
Yes, but it's definitely free will that is not like, in other words, nobody's out making choices. We're not just going.
Are you describing free will as no matter what decision or whatever action you decide to take, it's consequence free?
No. I'm saying that. Well, I would say yes.
I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, I would say that. Yes, I would say that true free will would be for all of us to be able to do whatever we wanted, to make whatever choice we wanted based on what we wanted, right? Versus we make choices because we live in a society, and we should make choices based on that. I'm not telling you, like I'm not.
But there still is, like you just said, that is a consequence though. Like getting a reward.
Does the consequence matter though? Because if it's free will, you can do whatever you want. There are consequences, but it's still free will. So if you could go out and murder somebody because you have free will, your consequence is that you're going to go to jail. But the consequence doesn't necessarily have anything to do with it because maybe you don't get caught and you don't go to jail. Well, it's still free will that you made the decision to do that.
Right. Yeah. But I'm saying again, this is kind of like, I think when, like on the last episode, Kevin, where it's like, it's very nuanced. So it's like, yes, it is free will, but if I can go out and kill someone and there's no consequences, then that is me. Like in other words, if the only consequences or rewards were internal, right? So in other words, if I kill you, Kevin, I'm happy about that or I'm sad about that, right? So then based on that internal feeling, I make a choice to do it or not do it, right?
You'd be sad.
I would be totally sad.
But there could be a consequence to your choice that you didn't predict either.
But I'm saying, like I'm just like expand it out to like there are no consequences, right? So if we live in a world where there's no consequences, and the only thing is how it makes me feel. Right. So it doesn't matter how anyone else feels, what it does to anybody, none of that. It just matters how it makes me feel. So everyone's a sociopath. Right.
Okay.
So then I think
Florida.
I think those people have true free will because everything they choose to do is about them and what they want.
But again, the only thing I would push back on is why does it matter if there's a consequence or not?
Because the consequence affects the choice you will make.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying.
In other words,
I see what you're saying.
Right. So there are consequences. So no matter how.
So you pick the knife up and you're coming at me, and then your brain goes, "Dude, you don't want to go to jail."
But I don't view that as free will. Like I don't view.
That's I think what John's saying is it's not.
I know, but I don't really see that it that way. Like I think that free will,
It's having the choice to make
consequences be damned. I have an
You have the-
opportunity to do something.
right.
But he's
Or not.
saying, I think that
Yeah.
if you might want to do something, knowing the consequences will change your decision on whether to do it or not. Right, John?
Yes.
That's just a limited aspect of free will because there's no such thing as 100% pure free will. Or
Well,
like, we
we
wouldn't
didn't
have
get down to
survived.
the percentages, Greg. Hey, all right, before we keep, let's move on because we're gonna have plenty more chances to get into this exact conversation. So during the Enlightenment, thinkers like John Locke came up with the idea of tabula rasa, which basically means blank slate.
Wasn't John Locke in that show Lost?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't watch Lost.
Yeah.
According to Locke, we're all born without built-in ideas or fate hanging over us. This perspective says we're like empty notebooks and life experiences write in the pages, shaping who we are and what we do. In this view, you're not stuck in a preset destiny. You're building yourself through choices and experiences. So according to Locke, you have a lot more control over your life's direction.
That makes sense.
So he's saying that you're a blank slate when you're born. I mean, do you guys believe that?
No.
Yeah. No, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I think
All right,
there's
moving
too
on.
many- There's
What-
too many
so,
genetic
Kevin, what do you think?
influences
'Cause
on
we-
you.
Yeah,
Like,
And now they're finding out that like even emotions can be genetically inherited as well.
addiction and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I don't think but it's good to. I like when people have extreme viewpoints because it's good, especially philosophers, because it's a good starting point.
Right.
So maybe like a smaller percentage of it is kind of predetermined, but I mean you fucking look at how like John Banks might his walk might look exactly like his dad's walk, for example, right?
Mhm.
Because it's genetically inherited.
take that back, you son of a bitch.
But is it genetically inherited, or is it
learned?
or is it something that he spent so much time with his dad growing up that he became that same way?
I don't think so, because
No?
most people don't want to be like their dad.
Yeah.
But it's subconscious. It's not anything you're controlling. You're not looking at your dad going, "Wow, he walks funny. I definitely don't want to walk like that." So you change the way you walk. Like you're just
Okay. Well, let's just talk about something that's not a fucking just idiosyncrasy. Let's just talk about eye color. Like eye color is genetically inherited.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with free will.
Well, it could, because if you have the right eye color, maybe that gets you the modeling gig that you shouldn't have gotten or something like that.
Well, that would be the same as talent or anything else that you might get genetically, which we're going to get into. So let me keep going. So nature versus nurture. This is something that we probably talked about in this podcast before. Genetics, which would be nature. Our genes come loaded with instructions for everything from our eye color to certain personality traits. Some research even suggests genes can influence our likelihood of developing conditions like depression. Instincts, babies suck their thumbs and know how to cry for attention. Animals know how to hunt or hide without being taught. Versus nurture, upbringing and environment. Social programming. From the moment we're born, society starts teaching us how to behave, what to believe, what's good and bad. And then there's cultural and economic factors. Depending on where you're born or the resources available to you, your life can be hugely impacted, which is like what Greg talked about with being born into slavery in the 1000s. So nurture, nature, most people feel like there's probably a middle ground, like a blend of the two. Like if you might be born with a talent for music, but if you never encounter an instrument, you're not going to become a rock star. But it is an interesting thought to have, because like one of the things that popped into my head was like Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps, if he's never introduced to swimming, like
He's just a dude with a short torso and long arms, right? Like, because that's like what gave him the advantage.
Well, that's just it. I mean,
Right.
like what if someone who is just the best of the best at what they do, whatever sport, whatever instrument, whatever artistic ability, like what if they never picked up that instrument or picked up that paintbrush or whatever? Like, what do you think that people are drawn to things because they're born with certain talents, or is it just kind of dumb luck?
I think it's way more I guess nurture, right? Or way more with I think that particular aspect is way more what is available to you,
Sure.
right? Versus where I think you're born with certain innate instincts where you're talking about like crying so you get fed or you go to sleep or get changed. Or you're basically you can't speak, so you cry, so your caretakers know there's something wrong, right? So that's born with. But I think like a learn, so but you, right, you could be the greatest piano player in the world or have that in you, but if you don't have a piano or even you live in a country where every day you have to walk 10 miles to get clean water, you're never going to be a piano player,
Mm-hmm.
right? Versus if you're born into a middle class family or more, you're born into a wealthy country where your family has a piano, or you go to a school and there's a piano, in other words, it's like that and you hear stuff on the radio, and then there's all these things that will steer you towards that.
Right. So you're based, yeah. So
no
the
free
thought
will.
of
Right. So in other words,
Right.
I don't think people go like, oh, I'm good at music, so I'm going to play. I was amazing at alto saxophone. I really was. Like I was just like I picked it up, I understood it.
Everybody knows that, John.
give him a tenor,
yeah,
lost, but
Yeah.
that alto,
yeah. And I didn't really like. I had a really good natural talent, and there was another guy I went to high school with who didn't have a really good natural talent, but he got music lessons, he practiced, and he went on to be like he's played with like BB King, and he's like a professional musician, right? I could have done that, but I didn't want to, right? Like whatever my upbringing was, whatever my situation was in that family, it was like, oh, actually, I know what happened. Like my senior year, my dad decided he was going to get involved in my life, and so he tried to like do as much as he could with music, and so that drove me away from that. Right. So if he hadn't done that, maybe I would have not known.
It is sad.
Well, I mean, it wasn't his fault, right? He was just trying.
No,
like,
of course not. No,
he was
well,
just
maybe the previous 16 years.
Yeah, the previous 16 years totally his fault. But he was just all of a sudden he was trying to connect with me at a point where genetically and evolutionary, I want to get away from him, right? So, and I didn't have the best relationship with him, so it's like this. I don't want you in my fucking life. I don't want you in the fucking.
And you were at a tough age too.
Yeah, and it's like so he's just shit. He's just ruining the thing that I loved, right? So, but who knows, right? Who knows if I would have been born to a dad who hadn't gone to Vietnam and didn't have an alcoholic father? It's like so. In other words, and that's why I say that we don't have free will, because I am going to make choices. And my dad made choices, and his dad. I was like, we all make choices based on everything that has happened to us. So the choice we make, we think we're making the choice, but we really don't have a choice in it because with all the information in our brain, we can only make that choice.
I think there is a blend because you do have a choice about whether you moved to California and the way that you did it. First, you went to Arizona, and then you came to California. I mean, there's different things that came up, and maybe you've made some hasty decisions that had a huge impact on your life.
Decisions as well,
and hasty ones, of course. But I don't think
make so many hasty decisions.
I don't think there's no free will. I think it is a blending. And obviously, all of your experiences influence what your decisions are going to be. But there's been plenty of times where we've come to a crossroad in our lives where we could have gone one way or the other, and you gotta make that leap. Some people never make that decision.
Some people are like, what? I'm gonna wear my hat facing forward. Some people are like, I'm gonna wear my hat backwards.
That is absolutely true. And today I decided to wear it facing, maybe not the way society wants me to,
or most people. But all right, so
I don't give a fuck.
Let me pivot to something a little more serious as far as this goes, or at least a little more like this.
Well, so far it's been a fucking riot. So yeah,
this nature versus nurture. You guys have been very funny. The nature versus nurture discussion comes up a lot with things like homosexuality, which is in the news, as far as like, not teaching kids about certain things, until they're older, because some people say, you're born with tendencies towards homosexuality, or it's a learned behavior. Do you guys think that is blended? Is that something you're 100% born with or 100% not?
I think I'm going to take this one, John, because you really talked for a very long time, and it was riveting, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and take this one. I think the easiest way to get people to shut the fuck up that are anti people that it could be on a sexual spectrum or continuum is to say that, yeah, you're born that way, because that way it's inarguable. And if it's something that, if it's nature, you don't have a choice in that shit. So it's like, fuck you. Fuck you. This is who I am, and it's how I am. But I think that there are varying degrees, places in time in our society and others where it's either acceptable or not. Like, just variances, as opposed to just being, if you're just heterosexual, it seems as though that is what's accepted worldwide. If you're anything different, then it threatens people. And like, so now you have people that are going through more trans experiences than ever before. Does that mean that there's more trans people now than ever before? Does that mean that society has accepted it more, so more people have like been more free to be themselves?
Or
I personally, my opinion is, I don't care, because whatever people either choose or are, if they're living life to their fullest, and like whatever they want to do is totally fine with me. I don't care enough about what other people, consenting adults, do in their fucking, as long as they're not hurting anybody and not taking advantage of minors and all those things. I mean, we've talked about that before, but
do you have a lean on which one? Is there? Do you see it as a nurture or a nature?
No, it's.
I would hope that we're kind of born that way. I know that, like, just there have been so many people that have said they've known since the time that they could process thoughts that they were either gay, or like they weren't in their right gender. They didn't feel right in their own bodies. Or
plenty of people who had like macho dads who were very anti-gay or something, and then they're closeted and all that stuff. That, you hear those stories as well.
Yeah, and that also the way society treats you. I mean, who wants to go through like being called names and beaten the shit out of and all that for being true to themselves? It's a pain in the ass. So now our society seems to be a lot more accepting of it. So obviously more people are going to be true to themselves. I guess I only hope that it's nature, just because it just makes it seem like at least you don't have to fucking argue it anymore. If you're going to say it's purely nurture, then you're going to take people and try and have them deprogrammed. And then you're also going to have people that are potentially homosexuals be self-loathing because why do I feel this way? I should change myself. And if you're kind of born that way, at least I feel like it removes a lot of fucking heartache.
And I also I think that, I think it is a spectrum, right? And so it is nature, right? But then, I think I think there are people who know when they're born, right? Or not when they're born, but like when they, I mean, there's people who be like, oh, I knew when I was 3, I knew when I was 4, right? I don't remember when I was 3. I don't remember what the fuck I did when I was 3, but I do remember being like 4, and I remember like being really attracted to women. Like,
I was super into girls at 3.
Yeah, and so but I think there's a wide range of people who don't know, who are kind of ambiguous or ambivalent, right? And then you kind of, I think that's when you're a teenager, you experiment with things, and so, and kind of what Greg's saying is like, so then I think that's when the nurture comes in, where it's like you like how many how many people do we know that like dyed their hair black and went all gothy, right? When they were teenagers, and now they're like just fat bald dudes, like with kids, and so it's like, yeah. Anyway, so I think that I'm getting off track here, but yes, I think it's nature. I think it's all nature as far as sexual preference or desire, whatever you want to call it. I think it's, again, I think it's as much nature as your eye color, right? So if you're born bisexual, you're going to be bisexual. Now you may choose to be with women because of what society does, but inside you're bisexual, or you're straight, or you're gay, or you're whatever and all the LGBT.
I would hope to live in a society where it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, and I think that if a lot of the younger Gen Z people are like that. They just don't. It's just it's not. There's no gay, straight. It's just equal opportunity. It's whoever I fall in love with. I fall in love with.
I fell in love with you too.
Hold on 1 second, because there is a couple
giant
of people in my room right now.
There's a baby
Hold
giant.
on 1 second. Hey, can you get the fuck out of here? Sorry.
Close the door, kids.
So that's nurture, but
yeah,
not sure what you're trying to teach there.
All right, so let's move on to the next part of this. And
For those of you, wait, I feel like just a real quick explanation. My son and his friend came in here to see. They knew I was doing the podcast. They just kind of wanted to be on camera, so that's why I told them to get the fuck out.
Yeah, no.
I support
Everyone
you.
should talk to their 17-year-old son that way.
15.
15. Oh wow. Okay.
Well, he's bigger than you.
He really is big.
Yeah. So,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
He could beat the living shit out of you if you wanted to. So it's fine. You can talk
Wow.
whenever you want. Because he
Yeah,
can
but I got
to
that
beat your
dad
ass.
strength. I got that dad strength.
No,
Yeah.
no, you don't.
He's afraid of it. I do.
Yeah, he won't be afraid of that for much longer. All right. So in addition to philosophy, another topic I love that is oftentimes confusing is physics. I briefly mentioned last episode that
I always thought physics was pretty straightforward.
Okay, well then keep listening. I briefly mentioned last episode that some believe that if we're all a collection of atoms and molecules that behave a certain way and have a certain function,
Adams and Eves,
how can we have free will?
not Adams and Steves.
I was ridiculed by you assholes because of that.
Oh shit! I'm stepping all over Kevin's insults to us.
So
Sorry.
let's.
My bad.
No, you're not. It's fine. I edit you out later. Let's
Okay.
dive into some more stuff, and we'll get into some mind bending stuff. I want to challenge you guys here. All right. So, a classical physics idea, determinism, something called Laplace's demon. The idea by Pierre-Simon Laplace that if a super
It's actually
intelligent,
Laplace.
sure, if super intelligent entity, which he refers to as a demon, knew the precise location and momentum of every atom in the universe, it could predict the future with complete accuracy.
I mean, how are you going to prove that right or wrong?
You can't. But if you believe that, though, if you believe that, you know what, we'll continue.
Well, no. So
This-
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
So I would say that being able to predict, right? So I mean, first of all, I mean the intelligence you would have to have, like the grand design. So then I would say yes, if you could do that, if you could know the momentum and energy of every atom that was happening in the universe, then I would say yes, you could probably predict the future.
Then how could you have free will?
Well, because you're talking about two different things.
No, I'm saying that if that were possible, then how can free will exist?
All right, well, free will doesn't exist. Thanks so much for listening.
But wait, I don't understand just by knowing what every atom is in the universe
Because you would know what would
gives
the
you
atoms,
the ability to predict the future.
I would know what the atoms in your body are going to do. Because based on the atoms, I would know what you're going to do.
But that's we're talking about time, though. We're talking about time and moving and stuff. So and decisions are fluid and they're constantly
But are
happening.
they?
So
That's
then
kind of the point, right?
atoms
That's the
change.
whole point, is how much do you believe in the atoms and the particles and all that stuff. So let's continue. This leads me into one of my favorite things that I think is really fascinating is quantum physics. So quantum physics is the branch of science that deals with the behavior of matter and energy at the tiniest scales, like atoms and subatomic particles. It's famous for being weird and counterintuitive,
Bosons.
with particles acting like both particles and waves, and things being in multiple states at once until it's observed. It's the rule book for how the smallest parts of the universe behave. So traditional classical physics, which includes Newtonian mechanics, fails to accurately describe phenomena at these really, really super small scales. So quantum physics provides the theoretical framework for explaining these behaviors and has led to practical applications in various technologies like transistors, lasers, and quantum computing. So this is kind of one of the things that kind of what we talked about before. So there's a rule in quantum physics called Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which basically says you can't know everything about a tiny particle's speed and location at the same time. It's like trying to watch a super fast hummingbird. You either see where it is or how fast it's moving around, but not both. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Heisenberg, he made meth.
I knew one of us was going to say that.
Yeah, I had a feeling somebody was going to say that too. So
Glad it
tiny
wasn't me.
particles sometimes act like they're in multiple places until we look, and then they decide where to be specifically, as if they're playing like hide and seek. So the uncertainty principle adds an element of randomness or unpredictability at the quantum level. So if the fundamental particles that make up our universe, and by extension, us, are not strictly deterministic, then it could be argued that our actions too have some level of unpredictability or freedom. So
You're articulating exactly the argument that I was just making before.
I did both of them. So you starting with the idea that if we could see all the atoms, basically that was a counterpoint to what
It's two quantum theories that one supports.
it's separate theories that basically say like the same thing but different. Like basically
you
saying
don't have free will.
Yeah, basically saying that like if you can understand all the atoms and what they're going to do, then you can see the future. But if particles are going to be so unpredictable and do all these crazy things like be two places at once until we observe them, then there's enough randomness in the world where it shouldn't be planned out, which in turn would say that we do have a free will, even if you believe in the particles and all the atoms.
So if people
Yes,
stop,
I wanted to lay both of those out.
so if people
and I believe in the latter as opposed to the former.
naming their
Sorry, John.
kids Atom, does that mean quantum physics goes away in 100 years?
Yes.
Cool. Everyone
And
stop.
particle. You got to stop. People got to stop naming their daughters particle. Particle banks.
I would totally name my kid Particle.
I know you would. So what do you guys? I mean, what do you think? What do you think of that? I mean, it's. I think it's very interesting because I do kind of believe that, like, you know, another thing that I actually wanted to bring up too is like, so this says it's not a straightforward jump from quantum uncertainty to human free will. After all, our daily experiences are not governed by quantum mechanics in an easily discernible way. However, just because there's randomness in the quantum world, does that necessarily mean that we still can control? Well, assuming you believe in this this quantum mechanics idea, just because it's random, does that mean that we are able to like take advantage of that and make decisions on our own?
I don't think atoms doing anything has any influence one way or the other on how our brains work, right? I think it's more about life experience, our experience.
Atoms are literally in your brain.
No, so I know.
And I think that's where the gray area, if you will,
atoms
is.
Everywhere, right? So I guess I'll say this. There are so many things we don't understand, right? Like we don't know why I touch this table and it's hard, but I do this and I can move my hand freely through the air, but it's the same amount of atoms, right? So why is it like we say, oh, it's the arrangement of the molecules. Okay, great. It's the arrangement of the molecules, but we don't know why that particular arrangement stops my hand from going through it. So then I would say, I mean, is it possible? Yes. My brain is too fucking small and I'm too stupid, as you played back earlier.
Wait a minute. I have something for this.
But I am this stupid. Right.
There you go. Okay.
So it's like I can only wrap my head around like the emotional side of it and the and the neural pathway part of it. I don't know, man. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I am so far away from that I can't even have an opinion about it.
John is finally saying something I completely agree with. He is just too fucking stupid. And goddamn it, yeah, I am super stupid. I don't even know why my opinion would matter to anybody besides. I don't even think you two assholes care about my opinion.
I don't.
No, I think. Well, no, that's true. But I'm saying like I think these are fun things to talk about. I like having these kind of conversations because and I think that there's a lot of people. Maybe people are finding this episode boring. I don't know, but I think that there's a lot of ideas out there that are somewhat counterintuitive, or certainly counter to what we've been thought to or told to think for a long time, or even what scientists have believed.
Okay, so then let me add. So do you know what quantum entanglement is?
I know a little bit about quantum entanglement, but not enough to really have a good conversation about
Okay,
it.
so then
Oh,
going
John
with,
does, so let's go.
well, going
I
with
know
your,
Einstein hated it.
so going with your theory, or going with either theory, right? Either one, you could say. So quantum entanglement basically is that. So let's say these two particles are forced together. These two atoms are forced together, and you get them spinning in the atoms. You get them spinning in exactly the same way, the exact same speed, direction, everything, right? So now they start reacting to each other, and you take one of these particles and you move it out 1,000,000,000,000 light years away.
So
If-
far. Just say far.
Just far, yeah. But so far,
How far?
1,000,000,000,000 miles.
Oh, good
Okay.
point. We should go back to what John
Yeah.
said.
So one's out there and one's here, and you change the direction. That atom will immediately react and change, and will match that other atom that you just changed, right? So with that, then you could say, okay, we don't have free will based on that theory, because it's just atoms connected to atoms, and so basically, if it's all like cosmic, then basically, kind of that thing where they believe that there was kind of this moment where all of a sudden people started drawing on caves, and then there's this moment where they created tools and they didn't have contact with each other, so it was kind of in the zeitgeist, right? So then I guess you could argue that the zeitgeist is the atoms, and the atoms are the ones communicating, and those atoms are somehow going into your neurons and giving you this idea that's not your idea, but you think it's your idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually mind bending as well.
I just came out of my
think-
pants, so I'm not
Wow.
real sure why.
I'm not sure you understand what mind bending is.
I think it's really cool that like we can have these conversations and these discussions, and you're never going to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
I don't think you're
Yeah.
ever going to
No.
like
I mean,
figure it out.
maybe someday we
But-
will as a society, but not in our lifetime.
Probably not.
So
in our lifetime.
what I always go to is, does your opinion about another person's life, like, well, let's back it up a little bit. Does your opinion about free will versus predestination influence your opinion or judgment about another person's decisions that they've made in their lives? So let's say you believe in free will and you just don't like what Kevin has done with his life. You don't like the clothes he wears. You don't like his pasty
This tracks. This does
hair.
track.
And you don't like his tattoos. You don't
So
like
many things.
Did you
the
say
hairstyle.
pasty hair?
Yeah, he's got pasty hair. And
So
so
you do. It is pasty. It's kind
easier.
of wet.
I mean,
It's
I put
easier
product
to
in
believe.
it. I mean,
It's okay.
it is
It's
kind of
easier
a paste.
Okay,
It's a
so
sour.
I'm right. Thank you.
Okay, I put actually it is paste. I put paste in my hair, so that was actually very accurate. Yes.
Like
It's
Elmer's glue.
Yeah, Elmer's.
Yeah, it's Elmer's glue. It's
Okay.
like I just take Elwood's like glue stick and I just put it in my hair.
It works
That's
beautifully.
wonderful. It looks like it.
Mhm.
So, in other words, it's.
I'm sorry, I
it's-
couldn't find my backwards cap.
That's obvious free
they're
will.
the same place
Or-
as your Ford
or
caps.
if there's no such thing as free
Are you
will,
sure, John?
Sorry.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
Greg,
Go ahead.
please.
Sorry.
no, there's obviously no free will because I haven't finished a fucking thought. Cool.
Definitely not free will on this podcast.
No. But if there's no such thing as free, if there is free will, then you can blame people for their fucking. You can talk shit about them. You can gossip about them because they made their choices. And let's, experience Schadenfreude or whatever the fuck that German word is for relish in people's misery. But if there's not, then it's not as much fun because you're like, it was going to happen anyway.
Well, I do think there should be. So I and this is again where it gets. So I do again. I don't think we have free will, and I do think that because I think those outside forces affect how we make choices, we have to have consequences for bad decisions, right? Or bad. Even though I don't technically think if you murder someone, you actually had free will in that murder. As a society, we have to say no, you can't do that because then the next person who wants to go murder someone will have that outside influence of like, I don't
Right.
want to go to jail, so I'm not going to murder. But that's what I'm saying is when I don't think people truly have free will because we are constantly making choices, and the reason we have
Based on
consequences-
outcomes.
right? Based
But
on
just
outcomes.
because you're making a choice, a decision that leads to less confrontation or an easier ride along this road doesn't mean that you could not have gone the other way. You
yes,
still
yes.
could
I'm not.
have.
I'm not right. I'm not. My argument is not that, or my. It's not that that is the only reason we don't have free will. But I think that is part of the reason we don't have free will.
It's just something that's influencing your choices because
Right.
you're a human being on the planet. You know, if you hit yourself in the head with a hammer, it's going to fucking hurt. So you're going to try and avoid things that are going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Even if let's forget about the actions hurting others.
Yeah.
Just even yourself.
Right.
So
I don't know. My kid threw a rock up in the air the other day, and it smacked him right in the face.
I'm sorry that happened, but it's funny.
And then he did it 6 more times.
He's definitely done it since. He just got lucky.
Then he threw a rock at his dad. And
So, just because the universe might have some randomness doesn't mean that we're making free choices. After all, flipping a coin to make a decision is random, but it's not exactly
No Country
free will.
for Old Men.
Yes, the No Country for Old Men rule. You could also argue that our brains are more than just physics. Our thoughts and choices might be more than just how atoms move. For example, love is a very complex feeling with a lot of depth. It's not easy to see how physics can explain an emotion like that. However, here's a part that I struggle balancing is if we are atoms and molecules and particles and all that stuff and moving around and doing their dance and doing all that stuff, in that sense scenario, does it stop and end somewhere? So does it or stop and end? Does it start and end somewhere? So my body is moving. And that's all
You have
that.
a button where you say you're stupid.
No, I don't know. That's ridiculous.
I'm gonna hire some people to get that done.
Let me try this one.
I'm super stupid.
Nope, that wasn't it either.
But
Maybe
I
this
am
one?
this stupid.
No, sorry. Those are the only two I have.
Oh.
How about this one? That's my stupid one.
That sums it up.
That's what I sound like.
Everything you're doing proves that you're stupid.
But that's something that I have a hard time with is the fact that if we are particles and atoms and molecules and all that stuff, then if our brains are more than that, what else is more than that? You know what I mean? So is it how can that give us the guidance for certain parts and not every part, if that makes sense?
That does make sense. You're discussing John Banks's soul. And you can't chalk that up to atoms and particles. It's more of a spirit, man.
Well, the soul is not real, Greg.
Well, it's atoms. So do you think that somewhere like out in space, like at some other galaxy, that there's like someone playing Drop It Like It's Hot, and it's like reverberating through like the entire universe because of the atoms?
Could be. Why not?
Drop it like it's hot. Like it's hot.
I admittedly, John, I gotta be honest, I don't know what you're talking about.
It was nothing. Let's move on.
Oh, okay, it wasn't real.
No. I was just saying, like, I don't know. I just had a thought. I wanted to share it with you guys.
I think possibilities are endless, and anything that
especially if you believe. I had we don't need to spend much time on religion since everyone who listens to this podcast knows our thoughts on that. But the whole idea that that's something very big that religious people will say is, well, God gave us free will. If you say something like, hey, why does so many bad things happen in this world to good people? And why are people such dicks if we're made in God's image? Well, we have free will.
Well, and that's assuming, like, if you read the Bible, like, and I haven't read other religious texts, but I definitely have like sat and read the Bible. And I mean, God's kind of a dick. You know?
Yes.
He is. Like, he's not like,
he also loves you.
He loves you. He's like an abusive fucking psychopath.
Yes, he loves you, but he also loves to give kids bone cancer.
And he killed his own son. He could have just said, "Hey, guess what, guys? I'm going to forgive you your sins. I'm just going to do that.
Here I am. I'm God. I'm real. Woo! All right. Now let's save my son's life.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that he didn't want the human experience to involve suffering.
Well, I mean,
why did he want that? Why is he so sadistic?
Is that sadism, or maybe he just started this planet and this world for us? And by God, I mean maybe the aliens that populated the planet. I'm not talking about what you're going to find in any kind of book. I'm just talking about maybe something started it all and started us off and said, "Here you go, it's yours." Just do. I gave you the tools. You guys decide what you're gonna fucking do with it.
I mean, I do think
It's a
it's
strange decision.
and it is crazy, like to think, like, you know, to be an atheist, it really is this crazy thing of like, because, you know, why is the Big Bang less ridiculous to me than some being created us? I don't know why, right? Like, do I have free will in that choice? Like at some, you know, again, and I think it's because of, like, I see it that way because of where I grew up, how I grew up, in my experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an atheist, the only way to fucking it doesn't even matter. What if you were an atheist, like, you know, 500 years ago, and you never even heard of the Big Bang Theory?
Right.
So it doesn't. That's not why you're an atheist.
No,
'cause
it's
the
not
Big
why I'm an
Bang
atheist,
Theory-
but what I'm saying is, like, I will look at that and I will say, okay, that makes that I can imagine happened, right? So there was nothing, and then this little ball of energy like exploded, and now there's everything, and it took 4 billion years for us to be here, but, like, you know, but then our 11 billion or whatever the hell it is, and you know, but I will believe that, but I won't believe that some being created us. Right?
Well, I think that everything we've talked about today, whether it's free will or fate
or free will.
we didn't even touch on karma, but if there is a God or if there's not, if there's nature, if it's nature versus nurture, if it's your fucking genes that made you walk like your dad or not, in my opinion is you're never going to get to the bottom of it. You're never going to fucking know. So I'm not going to like jump into any one camp for any of these things because I could see anything being possible. And I honestly don't give enough of a fuck to even pick a side on all of these things, whether to say there is a God or isn't, or whether to say that atheists are right. I think atheism is believing in nothing just as strongly as people that are theologians believe in something that is something. I'm more like, okay, that can happen. And maybe we find out after we die. Maybe we don't.
Okay,
Right,
so before I get to...
Oh.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, so I wasn't like I understand what you're saying, and I wasn't trying to get the religious. I was just basically trying to connect that to the free will, where basically, did I have free will in choosing to be atheist, right, or am I atheist because of everything that has happened in my life and what led me to that moment?
I think you're
Which was
atheist
masturbating.
because
It was.
you enjoy taking counterpoints.
I do.
You enjoy playing devil's advocate. You kind of relish the opportunity to try and blow up people's
Institutions.
not physically, like
Oh,
he's not
shit.
setting
physically.
dynamite. No, he's not doing that. But I think he just enjoys making people think and thinking about both sides of it.
Yeah, I do. That I do.
And so he can also say, fuck you, you're wrong. See, if even 1% of what I'm saying is accurate, that means there's a little chink in your armor.
Okay, before I get to last call, does
Are you going to get to second to the last call?
Are you choosing?
Does free will exist? Yes or no?
No.
In some small way, yes. I
So
think
yes, you're saying yes.
Mhm.
Do you believe we are made up of particles and atoms?
Yes.
Yes.
Greg, how can both be true?
And other shit too. Because we don't know everything, man. I can't say anything with any sense of certainty of anything. That's what I just said.
I know, but I just
think there's free will, and I think that we're made up of particles and atoms. I don't fucking know. I don't even have a microscope. I have to
I don't
trust.
either.
I have to trust a lot of fucking people that are saying a lot of shit.
Yeah, that's true. People in white lab coats.
I tend to believe scientists more than I believe people that are flying in fucking jets and taking your money or telling you you're going to fucking spend eternity in hell if you don't pay me money. So I kind of believe the scientists, but maybe they're fucking wrong. I don't know. I'm really leaning towards us being in a fucking matrix and we're all in an ant farm right now.
I'm actually hoping I can buy my way into heaven because I'm going to just send some money off just in case. Right?
Yeah.
Just in case.
I've been saving for it too, John.
Yeah. I don't want to like go to church. I don't want to do things, but if I can just
No, God,
money,
no.
if I can live
a
my life, I
lot
want to
of,
live my life without their moral weirdness than yeah.
Don't want any part of that.
A lot of work. I like weekends. I like
And beer.
like
All right,
Sundays at
boys. Last call. Cheers to all the atoms and particles floating around that give me alcohol and the chance to talk about this shit with you two knuckleheads every other week. Cheers.
Aw,
He ended it in almost a nice way.
classic abuser.